Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to request that we adjourn in the memory of arguably the greatest all-around baseball player of all time, the Say Hey kid, Willie Mays. Willie Howard Mays Jr. was born on May 6, 1931 in Westfield, Alabama, near Birmingham. His parents were unmarried teenagers. In high school, one of his teachers gave him permission to leave class early if needed to go to practice because, in her words, you're going to be a ball player. That teacher was the mother of future Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice. Mays joined the Birmingham Black Barons of the Negro American League in 1948 and was signed by the then New York Giants 2 years later in 1950. He was the only black player in the Interstate League at the time, and during his Hall of Fame induction ceremony, he told the story of being taunted by opposing fans in Maryland. After hitting 4 home runs, a triple, and a double in the first 2 games of the series, the PA announcer for the other team pleaded with fans not to taunt Mays anymore because, quote, he's killing us. By the end of the 3rd game, those taunts had turned to cheers. Mays was called up to the Giants in 1951, and while he struggled at first, he quickly found his stride and went on to win National League Rookie of the Year. While Mays is known for his remarkable success at the plate, many folks don't realize that Mays was as good, if not better, playing outfield than he was as a batter. He would dazzle both fans and teammates alike with his spectacular plays in center field at the cavernous Polo Grounds where the New York Giants played. Mays' most famous play, and quite possibly the most famous defensive play in Major League Baseball history, came in the first game of the 1954 World Series. With the score tied 2-2 in the bottom of the 8th inning, with 2 on and nobody out, the hitter launched a deep fly ball to center field. Mays turned around and began sprinting back and back and back. About 450 feet from home plate, with no time to turn around, Mays leaned his head back to find the ball, lifted his left hand up, and somehow made what would forever be known as the catch. An absolutely insane play at a critical time on the biggest stage in sports. The Giants moved to San Francisco in 1958. By this point, Mays had won the MVP of the league, the World Series, and he was a household name in America. But even still, Mays had trouble purchasing a home in a fashionable neighborhood in San Francisco because neighbors were worried that property values would decline if a black family moved in. Such was the racism that existed in San Francisco in the late 1950s. Mays compiled far too many statistics to mention, but here are just the highlights. His 7,112 putouts as an outfielder ranked number 1 in Major League history, and he won 12 Gold Glove awards beginning in 1957, which was the year the honor was first created, but that was 6 years after Mays was already playing in the majors. He drove in more than 100 runs in 10 different seasons and scored more than 100 runs in 12 consecutive years. His 660 home runs are 6th all-time, and he once lamented that playing at the freezing and windy Candlestick Park probably robbed him of 10 to 12 home runs a year. His 2,068 runs scored put him 7th on the career list, and his 1,909 runs batted in are 12th. And his 3,293 hits put him listed as number 13 all-time. And he didn't just hit for power, he didn't just hit for average. He also stole 338 bases at a time when not that many players were focusing on that. And he played in 150 or more games in 13 consecutive seasons. 150 or more games in 13 consecutive seasons. These days, hardly anybody plays 150 games in one season. Mays was the National League Rookie of the Year in 1951 and was named Most Valuable Player in 1954 and 1965. He was selected for 24 All-Star games and was the MVP of the All-Star game in 1963 and 1968. And for my colleagues from Southern California, Willie Mays was the favorite player of none other than the legendary Dodgers broadcaster Vince Scully. There was a fun article in the LA Times about that last week. Mays, who lived in Atherton before recently moving to Palo Alto, both in the 23rd Assembly District, is survived by his son Michael. And again, I respectfully request that we adjourn in the memory of Willie, the Say Hey kid, Mays.